before I begin this, I just would like to acknowledge that, unfortunately, this is much smaller than I anticipated, so we'll see how this goes. Okay. Where did okay. It's been a while since I told this story. But I might as well tell it again. What's it been? 1400s? Not sure. It's been centuries. But anyways, that's besides the point. Okay. Let's try this again, shall we? Do forgive me. I'm terribly sorry. No, this isn't working, is it? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to pretend like I can see something, but I can't, so that's obviously not going to work. Okay. Being normal is overrated anyways. So, it's page 1. Okay. At this point, I'm stalling you. It's quite sickening tale. It hurts to tell, really. I'm going to. Here goes nothing. I digress. Okay, now I digress. As I awoke from my slumber, which was surprisingly well, considering the amount of sleepless nights I've had for the past few weeks, I walked over to my mirror. My appearance was the same. Same almost sickly pale skin, same dark hair, same undead eyes, same fanged teeth that would make a human cower, same pajamas that should have been washed last night. Technically, it was only partially my fault on account of the unpacking taking much longer than it should have. As I put my makeup on, I got to thinking. I take pleasure in seeing things that nothing has changed on my person. But I also feel as if everything is extraordinarily repetitive. Sometimes I just want to lie down in my coffin and not have to worry about being hunted by humans. I mean, you suck someone's blood one time and then they assume it's a regular occurrence. But I really did have feelings for him. At least for a little while, that is. It's funny. I never thought me, of all people, could fall in love with a human. But that was many years ago. And even still, his family is trying relentlessly to get their revenge. It's almost like they're trying to avenge him or something. I must admit, I admire their efforts, but I would admire them even more if I wasn't in constant fear of my door being kicked off its hinges and getting arrested, or something worse. At this point, I got myself dressed and made myself a cup of tea to calm my nerves, although it didn't help much. I suppose I should probably tell you now how I got into this situation in the first place, but I must warn you. This is not a tale for the faint of heart. You have been warned. This is just your time to click off the video, if need be. No? Alright then. I warned you. It all started when I was living with my parents, and for some horrible reason, they decided that it would be a good idea to put me in a human school. It'll be good for you, my dad said excitedly, and as he smiled, I caught a glimpse of his fangs, which I didn't see often, especially now. He's always been so insecure about them, but I admired how sharp they were. It's almost like he had a certain knack for luring humans in, and not just humans. His fangs enticed almost every species, from zombies to poltergeists to everything in between, including myself, into a sort of magical state of mind, like the world slipped away from you. almost all the problems disappeared. Wish I had that feeling now. I miss him. The only thing I don't miss about him is his perspective on life. He always used to hold grudges and have some sort of vendetta against someone, and well, to be frank, sometimes he would wake up hating the world. But I digress. You're going to love it, my mom added with her infamous caring smile. I didn't. I didn't. You see, when the first day rolled around, I had gotten out of my parents' car. They wouldn't let me take the bus, too much of a risk for bloodlust. Wearing all black, sunglasses, and sporting an umbrella. Keep in mind that it wasn't raining, so I looked even less normal than everyone else. Normal. What is normal, anyway? You know, things I need to protect myself against the blazing fire while you call the sun. I was feeling quite tired, since normally I'd be sleeping right about now. Luckily for me, the only one good thing about being hunted is that you don't have to follow a rigorous sleep schedule. It wasn't yet time to go inside yet. The teachers were quite strict about that. And so, with everyone outside, they all stopped what they were doing and stared at me. Like they knew I was different. Like they knew I wasn't normal. As if that actually means anything. Then the whispers began. They might have been quiet to a human ears, but I could hear everything very distinctly. It hurts to describe what they said in detail, but I remember it so... well, I remember all of it. They were mocking me. Judging me on what they saw on the outside. Except one. If I were thinking at the time, I could have played off the character they wanted. The insane, scary, sadistic, bloodthirsty... well, the last one is true. Vampire that, you see in those Hollywood movies. You know the trope. So stereotypical if I do say so myself, and I do. Acting's my forte after all. Especially now. Due to my unfortunate circumstances. But that would be wrong according to my morals. What? I had morals at one point in time. Not anymore, though. They destroyed them. And that's when I met him, out of the corner of my eye. But I wasn't laughing like everyone else. As I was walking towards the main door, I felt someone push me. I looked up to see who it was, but I couldn't seem to see anything. You see, when this mystery person intentionally pushed me down, I had dropped my umbrella, and then I felt it. The sun was burning my skin. Immediately, I shielded my face, but I should have been focused on that my body was burning. Ugh. Everyone began laughing at my suffering. Typical human behavior. Everyone except him. Stop laughing, he cried, while grabbing my umbrella and shielding me from the sunlight. As I started to regain my sight, he helped me steady myself. I'm not sure if I imagined this next part, but I could have sworn he said something along the lines of, "What's wrong with you? Can't you tell when someone's hurt?" Well, he escorted me to my classes that day, and after a couple months of knowing each other and becoming closer, I don't dare say the term friend anymore, but I don't dare say that we were anything more either. He asked me if he could come back to my house for dinner. I declined. Don't think he'd appreciate the meal. Unless he were a cannibal, but he didn't strike me as the person who would eat their own species. The ones that do have a certain air about them. Instead, I suggested that I go to his, to which his parents, and my parents all agreed. I really think they were just happy that I made a friend so quickly. Doesn't happen often. While walking up his porch, he warned me about his parents being, and I quote, skeptical about different culture. To which I remarked that I haven't got much culture to begin with. Or so I thought. I didn't really think much of his warning until I got inside. Everything was going great. Well, except for his parents being... how do I put this delicately? Complete fools? Complete fools. Apparently, I have more culture than I thought. But other than the occasional glare and, well, them being afraid of me, at least that's what it seemed, things were pretty, well, normal, I should say. That was, well, until I realized what was on the menu. Spaghetti and garlic bread. Now, the spaghetti was perfectly fine, but the garlic bread, on the other hand, was not. It's my family recipe, his mother said, far too enthusiastically in my opinion. I was doomed. And as I went to pick it up, I had remembered that allergic reactions were a normal human reaction. So I decided that my distaste for garlic was, as far as his parents are concerned, an allergy. But when I said this, his father looked at me, as if he was trying to figure me out. So where are you from? We've been told all about you. I froze. You have? How much did you hear? Exactly? Where am I? Sorry. Okay. Once they laughed it off, I passed it off as a joke and told them that I'm from Michigan. That was not true at all. This in turn brought me to a museum. Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum, which, when I talked about it, that allayed their suspicions a lot. While he was driving me home, he asked me about my mannerisms, why I carried an umbrella when it wasn't raining, why I always looked tired during the day. Well, my allergy never came up until now. What was I supposed to say? That I'm not human? He'd freak out. But I couldn't lie to him. Curse my good-natured morals. I told him everything. Where I'm actually from, that I come from a long line of vampires before me, even the fact that I wasn't alive. And after I was done with all this, he told me his parents were vampire hunters. What a shocker. So it was lucky that I left when I did. It's funny to think about what happened next, because it happened so quickly, but so slowly that in retrospect I didn't quite know what had happened. It's all distorted now, like a memory that you try to remember, but whenever you do, it never seems right. We had gotten to my house, and he had opened the car door for me. He really was quite the gentleman. But as he closed it, his finger got stuck. He screamed in pain, and I opened the door to get his hand free. You all right? I asked, while taking his hand and trying to look at it. He said he was okay, but you know me. Actually, you don't. All you know is this story. Nothing more, nothing less. Nothing about my family or my job, nothing about my childhood or my passions. All you'll know by the time you're done reading this, or listening, whatever you want to do, is, well, whatever I decide to throw up onto these infernal pages. I'm just trying to tell you all this story, so don't come at me, all right? Oh, I'm terribly sorry for that outburst. Shall we continue? Okay. Sorry for that. After some convincing, I led him to the bathroom of my parents' house, where there was more light. I looked at his hand once more. It was bleeding. He quickly pulled his hand away from me, but I took it back and reassured him that I wouldn't hurt him. What a lie that was. And I got a Band-Aid from the medicine cabinet, but as I was going to put it on his finger, something came over me, like an animal instinct. Vampires survive on human blood, and I hadn't had my fill in a while. The next thing I did was why I'm still on the lam, why I'm running, why his parents are out to get me still, and why I was disowned, and most importantly, why he's dead. Do you trust me? I asked, while still holding his hand rather tightly. He looked confused at my statement and tried backing away. Well, considering what you've told me about your family, not really. Normally I don't get upset when people say things like this. Happens all the time. But I'd known him for a while, and for him to just throw our friendship out the window just was the final straw. So our friendship meant nothing to you? I replied rather quickly. He looked at me, now visibly more scared. No, that's not what I meant at all. I'm just, well, not sure if you know what you're doing, he said as he found himself against the wall. Against the wall and completely helpless. It's funny to think about how he could have avoided his demise, but his doubt about my knowledge and my family had to be dealt with accordingly. Any last words? I asked, surprisingly calm about the whole thing, but I should have been calm. This wasn't the first time I had done something like this, but it was the only time I had been caught. The words he said still haunt me to this day. Before I made my attack, he took his final breath and said, "Memento mori." I looked at his body, now still and lifeless, and as I finished my meal, I heard it. Police sirens. In just 3 minutes, there were officers in the bathroom, 2 contemplating what to do with the body, and the other one interrogating me. They were all quite intimidating, but not as intimidating as my parents when they saw the carnage of his body. They looked shocked at what I had done, which was surprising because it wasn't the first time this had happened. Yes, I know I had mentioned this before, but if something is repeated, it normally means that it's very important. Okay. By morning the next day, they kicked me out of their house, and as I was walking away, I heard their whispers. Far worse than what the people at school would say. I would say that I regret my decision, but life's too short for having regrets, no matter what you've done. As I sit here weaving a tale, telling you this story, weaving a tale of distress, despair, and death, I hear a sound. A knock at the door. I'm afraid to open it, and I don't think any running or pleading can help me now. I guess it's goodbye for now, my friend. Memento mori.